Sung stood before the massive gate, his partner beside him, ready to enter. A crowd gathered, shouting questions at Sung, asking about his guild's name. A man in sunglasses asked Sung about his guild member, Yu So-hyun. Stop the news about the gate's location. Sung smiled, thinking about a picture he posted on Instagram recently. Young asked if they should call a hauling or mining team for the job. Sung replied he didn't think they needed extra help for this task. Sung stood alone as shadows gathered around him, ready for action. Sung declared his shadows would handle all the work without his help. Chief Wu watched, amazed as Sung's summons appeared, all B rank or higher. Someone thought Sung was tricking everyone who doubted his special treatment. Two men in suits checked a device, confirming the team was ready to go. A man in white turned sharply, a swift movement catching everyone's eye. Sung and his partner looked up, surprised by the sudden movement nearby. Chief Wu, now in armor, said he was ordered to observe Sung's raid. Chief Wu asked if he could join as a representative for the inspection team. Sung looked at Chief Wu, questioning if this was truly a good idea. Chief Wu looked confused, asking for clarification on Sung's words. The scene shifted, showing time had passed. A few minutes had gone by. Chief Wu stared ahead, his eyes wide with shock at what he saw. A giant monster roared as shadows stabbed and slashed at its body. The monster fell, hit hard by multiple attacks from the shadow forces. A shadow figure moved fast, its blade cutting through the monster's flesh. Chief Wu watched, realizing even strong hunters would struggle against this. Chief Wu sweated, noting the monster kept regenerating despite the hits. Chief Wu thought the monster was especially powerful, a serious threat. A dark shadow loomed, its glowing eyes fixed on the battle ahead. Chief Wu saw the shadow move fast, its red trail cutting through the lightning. He watched the electric blast fill the air, bright and wild. His eyes widened as he realized the monster wielded lightning magic. The monster swung, each strike sparking with raw power. A red slash cut through the dark, missing by a hair. Lightning cracked around the monster, striking its foes. The shadow blurred, dodging the electric storm with ease. The ground shook as the blast hit with a massive boom. He thought, is it an A rank? No, it's probably even higher. He wondered if he could win fighting it alone. The monster chewed on a corpse, its eyes glowing white. He yelled, "Hey, I told you not to eat those." He shouted, "And you guys, keep mining those mana crystals." He realized he's capable of clearing an A-rank dungeon alone. He smiled. Now I understand why the chairman asked me to observe him. The giant beast stood, towering over the two men. He said, "Those of you still working can stay. Rest of you, return." He stepped into a dark circle, vanishing with a schwamp. The soldier asked, "Why did you send the others away?" He replied, "Your summons would have been strong enough to take down the boss." He muttered, "Relying too much on my shadows." He finished, "Makes me lose my touch." He stood calm, lightning crawling up his blade. He took a step, dust flying as he moved. The beast roared, then crashed down with a boom. He leapt, a blue trail following his rise. He slashed down, the blade flashing in the air. The monster's tail slammed into the ground, broken. The soldier gasped, his face pale with shock. A message flashed. "You have defeated the dungeon boss." The soldier stood, stunned, as level-up messages filled his screen. He read the skill updates, his mouth open in surprise. His eyes scanned the new skill details, focused and quiet. The cooldown timer for his skill dropped by an hour. He thought hard, his face serious in the dim light. He hoped his power would keep his sister safe. A memory flashed. He cut through enemies with ease. He recalled slicing foes with just 2 daggers. A knight stood nearby, watching the broken monster. The soldier's eye widened, a bead of sweat falling. A dark figure rose from the ground, shadowy and tall. The monarch's voice stirred the spirit of the fallen. His shadow's power grew stronger, glowing with energy. The new shadow soldier started at level 13, ready. Smoke curled from the shadow as it formed beside him. He noted the shadow looked familiar, same as before. He guessed its strength matched when it was alive. The shadow shrank, now much smaller than before. He reached out, hand near the shadow's glowing face. He wondered if it could grow bigger with magic. He saw it as a big help for his growing army. He thought hard, then chose a name, Jima. He imagined Jima, a horned warrior in his mind. He smiled, proud of his new summons look. The ground shook, dust flying as Jima moved. He told Jima to get going, voice calm and firm. He stared at the monster's corpse, unsure what to do. A crowd watched, phones and cameras raised in shock. A giant foot stomped down, crushing the ground. The crowd screamed, running as the monster rose again. A crowd snapped photos, flashing lights everywhere as a monster loomed close. They kept clicking, even as the monster's shadow fell over their heads. Someone called out, "Look this way, please," while another said, "Hyungnim." One man noted, "There are even more reporters now." Another agreed quietly. He thought, "Seems like everyone's interested in our first raid." The man looked down, sweat on his face, and said, "This is a bit." He finished. "And that's what happened, Chairman. His name was Haggard." The chairman sighed. "Ha!" and leaned back in his chair. He told Chief Wu, "You've seen many raids. I understand you're overwhelmed." Chief Wu whispered, "What I witnessed wasn't a raid, Chairman." He added, "It was a massacre." The chairman listened, eyes sharp. The chairman said, "All right, Chief Wu, go get some rest." He obeyed. Alone, the chairman thought. Hunter Sung cleared an A-ranked dungeon, mined crystals. He mused. Calling him a one-man assault squad would be an understatement. He smiled. He's a one-man guild. The thought made him proud. He whispered, "A guild in and of himself." His smile stayed. He simply said, "All." He thought, the hunters of Korea, no, from all over the world, are about to see the tides turn. The scene shifted to Shinjuku, Tokyo. A red vortex swirled above the streets. People walked below, unaware, as cars moved slowly through the evening light. Debris fell. A man shouted, What is that?" A woman gasped, "Oh my God!" A red blade flashed through the dark sky, cutting the air. A large building stood under a sunset sky, its dome catching the last light. 3 men in suits stood on a balcony talking about powerful guilds in Japan. One man shouted, his mouth wide open in surprise at someone arriving. Blades were carrying out a crooked scheme. A man in a blue coat spoke, suggesting they could become Japan's best guild. A woman in a pink top and hat stood beside him, looking serious. 3 men in suits walked away down a hallway, one wiping his brow. A man with spiky hair frowned, calling the others opportunistic and cocky. A voice mentioned a rumor about the Phantom Guild acquiring Snowy Mountain. The woman in pink said those 2 guilds combined had 4's ranks. She added they thought merging would make them Japan's best guild. A man scoffed, saying even all guilds combined would be no match for them. An older man yelled, demanding to know why the Hunters Association was silent. He slammed his fist, angry that no countermeasures were in place for a gate. A man in a green coat asked what would happen if a dungeon broke loose. An older man in a robe told them to stop asking obvious questions. A man with long hair suggested hiring someone named Thomas Andre. A hand reached out, pulling back a curtain to reveal a bright light. A man with glasses held papers, saying they were searching for hunters worldwide. A voice from above said they weren't sure how many hunters would tackle an S-rank gate. A man in a green coat sat at a desk, saying there was one hunter willing to help. He named the barrier specialist, Yuri Orlov, as the one they needed. A woman in a green coat said she planned to hire him for the mission. A van drove fast on a dark road, its headlights cutting through the night. A man drove, saying he couldn't believe he was now level 101. He looked ahead, excited to see what would happen when he reached level 102. His hand held a small key, the only thing visible in the soft light. A man stood by his van, thinking about Jinho and his guild's staffing needs. He turned his head, curious about a sound he just heard nearby. A woman in a cap jumped, surprised by his sudden appearance. She spun around, grabbing her hat as she tried to get away. He lunged forward, asking why she was running from him. She pointed at him, stammering as she asked what he was doing near her office. He explained he left his car in her parking lot by mistake. He asked if she was free right now, looking at her closely. Thoughts swirled in her head, questioning their relationship and her rank. A name echoed in the dark, Min Byung-gu. The words continued, about. He heard a voice whisper about his powers, his eye glowing faintly. He told her to come upstairs, gesturing toward the building. The building's window stood closed, dark and quiet. The same window opened slowly, letting in a warm light. Inside, She sat at her desk as he walked toward the back office. She panicked, realizing they were alone as he faced her. He asked her a question, stirring her thoughts with his words. A cup of coffee sat on the table, a voice remembered from that day. A glowing figure floated in darkness, reaching out with glowing hands. The figure cried out, begging someone to grab them before they vanished. The glowing figure reached toward a dark, shadowy form above. A face appeared, screaming to warn him about the powers inside him. The voice explained being pulled from darkness but not being the same. It spoke of still being aware, yet feeling like a slave to one master. The voice warned that his powers were dangerous and needed control. It urged him to remember. Hunter Sung-Ae Jinwoo's true army is. The message ended with a dramatic pause. His true army is. A dark, twisted tree root hung in the air, pieces falling slowly. He stood under the tree, calmly eating a sandwich, looking away. He thought about what she said, his eyes sharp and focused. His soldiers fought stone monsters glowing blue with their weapons. His friend chewed food, talking about old dungeon raids together. He told his friend his soldiers could move on their own. He admitted he couldn't leave them even if it cost him. He warned his friend about the soldiers acting when he's gone. He asked about his sister, his face showing quiet concern. He said his most trustworthy shadow watched over her now. He looked down, holding a napkin, his expression calm. He paused, realizing he should check up on his sister. He activated his skill, shared senses, to see through his soldiers. He focused, ready to see what Jaina was doing right now. A bright flash filled the screen as the vision began. A man in red cried out, begging his king to uphold honor. A glowing blue eye appeared, watching the scene closely. The eye blinked slowly, taking in every detail around it. A dark shadow creature yelled, begging the king to reconsider. Jaina slept peacefully, her face calm under soft light. The shadow creature moved near her bed, watching closely. The room stayed quiet, the shadow still near her side. He thought Jaina was fast asleep, his face relaxed. He smiled slightly, a small drop of sweat on his cheek. He wondered, funny, does he like watching historical dramas? He decided to check in on the others next. He saw a man screaming at another holding a newspaper. Water dripped slowly from a shower head, making soft sounds. A single drop hit the water, making a small splash. A woman with blonde hair sat in the shower, eyes closed. "Young, did you doze off for a second?" he shouted, face red with panic. He thought, "I should." His friend looked confused, unsure what to say. "Young, did you perhaps hear about the news? A gate spawned in Shinjuku, dark and swirling. Have they contacted you, Hanyoung?" He nodded, voice low, still unsure. "Pressing matters to attend to." Item: key to the Carton Temple. Difficulty: he held the key, sparks flying from his hand. He sat thinking, what exactly are you? He turned, hearing a sudden rush of air. He stood, ready. "Let's go. We have work." A tall building lit up at night. Quiet. "I am Yuri Orlov," they said. He smiled, calling himself the best hunter. He began. "I had a..." He leaned back, sipping his drink, relaxed. "However, it seems you lack manpower. One S rank must stay behind," they explained. He frowned, hand on his chin, thinking hard. Protect your country with that plan. $3.6 billion a year. He slammed his fist down. Kane held a golden object, stating a huge yearly sum. His hand pressed down hard. He smiled wide, offering a lower daily price. He said he'd keep the gates closed. The man in the suit looked shocked. He shouted, questioning the daily cost. Free or save cash. He smirked, asking if they had time to be picky. He said begging wouldn't help. The man with brown hair looked sharp. He said Kane must be sure of his own skill. Kane sat relaxed, pointing at the others. He said they were worse than the losers behind them. The spiky-haired man smiled. The woman beside him said his meaning was clear, even if unclear. They both froze in place. A purple glow surrounded them, holding them still. Kane held out his glowing hand. He said they couldn't move without his permission. A purple sphere trapped them. He dared them to try and move from their spot. The spiky-haired man looked scared. He couldn't believe his S-rank power was blocked. The woman's eyes glowed red. She felt like she was chained, unable to move. Kane grinned again. He said he'd stop their S-rank gate and let them go free. The brown-haired man looked down. He said he confirmed their abilities, but doubted the government. He gripped the chair arm. He thought trusting Kane was their only choice, then said it was fine. He asked to make a quick call. Kane agreed, telling him to go ahead. The building stood tall under a dark sky. Some windows were lit, others dark. A woman stood in a room. A man in black bowed his head, saying he'd be going now. He bent down to tie his shoe. His hands worked fast, his other shoes nearby. The woman watched him, her face calm. She stood still, waiting for him to leave. He looked to the side. He asked if his mother didn't need to worry about anything. He smiled slightly. He said of course not, then added he just had an appointment. He walked toward a bright door. He said he'd be right back as the door clicked shut. A screen showed a key item. It opened the Carton Temple's door with 1 minute left. Dark hair fell over his face. He looked down, his expression hidden. His eye snapped open, glowing blue. He stared ahead with sharp focus. His hand shot forward, glowing bright. Blue energy crackled around his fingers. Dark hair fell over his face. He looked down, his expression hidden. His eye snapped open, glowing blue. He stared ahead with sharp focus. His hand shot forward, glowing bright. Blue energy crackled around his fingers. A building stood broken, its side torn open. Police tape blocked the area. A woman in glasses spoke, watching blue light glow behind her. A hooded figure raised his hand. A woman told him he couldn't enter. He pulled his hood back. His name was revealed, Hunter Sung Jin Woo. The woman asked how long the gate had been open. He waited for her answer. She said 3 days had passed. He looked down, thinking hard. Others talked nearby. They said the gate was only sea-crank, not dangerous. He turned to leave. The woman yelled, saying the assault squad was in danger. He froze. She begged him to explain what was happening right now. He said there was no time. His voice was calm but urgent. Inside, the ground was cracked. Sharp stone spikes rose from the floor. A group stood before a huge door. They asked why it wouldn't open. One man yelled, "It's a trap." Another screamed, scared out of his mind. He walked forward. They asked who he was. He said he survived a double dungeon. They stared in shock. One asked if he was really Hunter Sung Jin Woo. His eyes glowed blue again. He said this place was extremely dangerous. He reached for the door. It didn't budge. He wondered if magic sealed it. The door's lock glowed. A message said it was locked and needed a key. He held a glowing key. It buzzed with power. He realized why it was needed. The door opened with a clang. Others gasped, shocked he moved it so easily. A knight in armor spoke. He said the Dragon Guild bought the raid permit. The knight yelled, "You can't order us just because you're Srank." He stayed silent. His face showed nothing. He turned toward the open gate. He told them he wouldn't stop them. Anyone could enter if they wished. A knight stepped forward. He said, I'll go then, and walked toward the gate. The knight entered. The gate shut behind him. A sound said, "Access denied." A huge monster lunged. Its red eyes glowed. The knight barely dodged. A knight stepped forward. He said, "I'll go then. I'll walk toward the gate." The knight entered. The gate shut behind him. A sound said, "Access denied." A huge monster lunged. Its red eyes glowed. The knight barely dodged. He looked back. His friends watched, scared. He told them to leave now. He said a double dungeon appeared. The one with the key had entered. The gate slammed shut. They stood outside, unable to follow him in. Magic flames lit the walls. The room glowed blue and cold. Stone statues lined the walls. They looked broken and old. A large statue sat in the center. It held a tablet with strange words. The room hissed. Blue lights flickered. The air felt heavy. Words flashed. It all began here. "Hi." He stood alone in the dark. He whispered, "I've returned." His voice echoed in the empty space. A monster grinned behind him. He felt its presence in his bones. He looked at the statues. They were cracked and covered in moss. He thought, these aren't monsters. They're not alive either. He walked slowly. He said, they're puppets of someone, something. He realized only one thing here emits magic. His eyes narrowed. A figure's eyes glowed red in the dark. It watched him silently. He said, "So it was you." His voice was calm but firm. His eye glowed blue. He stared ahead, ready for what came next. A shadowy eye opened on the wall. It watched him without blinking. He tapped his foot. The sound echoed. He asked, "Why don't you answer?" Yuri Orlov stood tall as reporters snapped photos around him. He smiled wide, waving at the crowd with one hand in his pocket. A reporter shouted, asking how he planned to block the gate. If he could block an S-rank gate alone. He explained his magic could pull mana from the air around him. He pointed forward, promising to save everyone's lives. Someone watched him on a screen, thinking hard with a hum. An old man said he wasn't sure of success, but feared failure. He sat back, holding a remote, looking calm and in control. He asked what Hunter Sung Jin Woo was up to these days. His aide said the Ajin Guild wanted entry to many gates. The chairman called the new one-man guild amusing, smirking. He asked if the Ajin Guild said anything else. They asked to handle nearby gates for unspecified reasons. The aide said it shouldn't be a problem, then got a call. He stood, asked to be excused, and left the office quickly. He spoke on the phone, saying his name clearly. He heard about a new gate in a schoolyard, surprised. He gasped when told it was a double dungeon inside. He asked if there was more, worried by the news. A stone slab cracked with a deep rumble, shaking the ground. A dark winged shadow moved fast, causing another rumble. A report stated Hunter Sung Jin Woo entered the double dungeon. He moved swiftly, a blur in the air rushing forward. A stone wall shattered with a loud crack, breaking apart. A dark figure spoke, saying he finally made it this far. He stood in the rubble, wondering if he could break the slab. A stone wall shattered with a loud crack, breaking apart. A dark figure spoke, saying he finally made it this far. He stood in the rubble, wondering if he could break the slab. The dark figure's red eyes glowed as it spoke again. He asked, "Are you the one who called me here?" A voice answered, "Yes." A wide, toothy grin appeared in the darkness. He asked, "Are you a monster?" The voice replied, "You're asking the wrong questions." It told him, "Instead of asking who I am," it continued, "you should be asking who you are." It declared, "Now, this shall be your final test." It added, "If you stand on your feet, I will tell you everything." It said, "That will be my reward to you." 3 armored figures stepped forward, eyes glowing red. He stood alone, shadows swirling around his feet. He said, "Come out." The dark figure snapped its fingers, saying, "That won't do." It warned, "This is a test, no cheating allowed." It added, "You are no longer authorized to use shop items." He looked confused and asked, "What?" It said, "You may not leave until the final test is complete." He muttered, "So this is how it's going to be, huh?" He added, "I don't think all the cards in my hand would end up useless." A giant stone fist flew at him with a loud whoosh. He thought, "Well, I can still use my inventory." He decided, "In that case, I'll defeat everyone with just my strength." He leaped high, dodging the stone fist aimed at him. He landed hard on a stone giant's head with a clang. He looked down, eyes glowing, ready for the next move. He dashed forward, leaving a trail of blue light behind. He swung his weapon fast, the air cutting with a swish. He clashed with stone arms, sparks flying from the impact. He jumped again, soaring over more stone figures below. He moved fast, a blur as he struck another giant. His blade hit a giant's face, making a thwack sound. He thought, "That's right, I've been waiting for this moment." He yelled, "No, I've been living for this moment." A hooded figure spoke, "You have achieved so much. I am truly." The figure added, "Impressed by your growth." He kept fighting, slicing through stone as he said, "Each one is strong, but I can do this." The hooded figure said, "Truly impressive growth, but it's still too early for this test to end." He flinched as the ground shook with a rumble. Stone cracked and fell, clattering as the rumble grew. A huge boom echoed as the stone giant broke apart. Dust filled the air where the giant once stood. He stood tall, facing the remaining stone figures below. The hooded figure grinned wide, eyes glowing red. Sung Jin-woo stood in a bright office, facing three men seated on a couch. He stayed still as a hand slid a contract across the table toward him. The older man leaned forward, his face showing surprise and confusion. Then said Song Jin-woo was not their affiliate. Another man stepped forward, his tone firm and his eyes narrowed. He asked only for a chance to negotiate with the young man directly. The older man thought hard, his mind racing with the offer's weight. He wondered if they lacked the power to block the S-rank gate now. He made a small sound, his brow furrowed as he considered the deal. He tapped the table, asking to speak without the interpreters present. The young man looked shocked, sweat forming on his face as he spoke. He explained his father ran a business in Japan when he was young. Two guards stood by a door as a voice warned of crafty tricks ahead. The older man leaned back, asking what the young man meant by that. He sat forward, his voice low as he spoke of the Blade Guild's split. The young man stood up fast, his face full of shock and anger. He spoke of the Blade Guild's past power and its current weakness. He stared hard, warning the older man he would take full responsibility. A hand grabbed a small device from a desk, its purpose unclear. He placed his hand on the contract, his voice steady and firm. The young man looked at the device, his face full of confusion. The older man's voice grew dark, his words heavy with threat. His eyes glowed with anger, his teeth clenched in a tight grimace. The young man looked down, his face pale as he faced the truth. The older man's fist slammed down, crushing stone and metal beneath it. He was thrown back hard, his body crashing through the wall behind him. He looked up, his face twisted with pain and shock as he spoke. His voice was low, his eyes glowing as he warned of wider consequences. He named Hunter Sung Jin-woo, giving credit for the turn of events. He moved fast, his body a blur as he cut through the air. He sliced at a robot, its red eye glowing as it broke apart. More robots surrounded him, their red eyes fixed on his every move. He glanced sideways, his blue eyes sharp and focused on the threat. A giant shadow loomed over him, its red eye burning in the dark. He knew he couldn't dodge, so he raised his hand to counterattack. Purple energy burst from his hand, striking the enemy with force. The robots cracked under the energy, their bodies splitting apart. He grinned wide, his teeth bared as power surged through him. A loud impact shook the air as his attack met its target. He stood firm, facing a giant robot glowing with purple energy. The robot roared, its body shaking as it took the full force. His skill upgraded, now called the Commander's Authority. Heavy steps shook the ground, dust flying with each footfall. A bright explosion lit the sky as his attack hit the target. He leaped high, dodging the blast as debris flew around him. He knew he was lucky. One more hit would have ended him. A giant face grinned down, its teeth sharp and eyes glowing. He decided to focus on the big one first, no time to waste. His foot slammed down, cracking the ground with raw power. He jumped again, dodging the giant's next crushing blow. He swung his weapon, slicing through the air with deadly speed. The giant's foot came down hard, shaking the earth beneath. He struck the ground, sending a shockwave through the battlefield. The giant's face twisted into a cruel, satisfied grin. A blue beam cut through the dust as the ground cracked under the impact. A red eye glowed inside the giant's dark, broken face. He dashed forward, leaving a trail of white light behind him. A pink beam flashed as he dodged it, barely missing his head. He thought about his plan, eyes focused on the giant's weak spot. The words, "The Dominator's Authority," burst onto the screen. His blade slashed at the giant's leg, leaving a glowing cut. He spun in the air, surrounded by swirling energy and speed lines. He struck the giant's body, causing sparks and a loud rumble. He looked calm, thinking his upgrade made a huge difference. He slid across the ground, kicking up dust and sparks. The giant's face showed pain, cracks spreading across its stone skin. His eyes glowed as he whispered, "Mutilation." He cut through the air with fast slashes, leaving bright blue lines. His face was tense, one eye glowing bright blue in the dark. The screen went black with only a few sparks falling. The giant laughed, saying its armor only got scratches this time. He decided brute force was needed, then leaped into the air. His blade hit the giant's body, making a sharp, cracking sound. He aimed for a crack in the giant's armor, focused and ready. He grabbed the edge of the crack, pulling himself up with force. His fist clenched, glowing with blue energy as he prepared to strike. He punched forward, sending a shockwave toward the giant's face. He yelled, "Take that!" as his fist hit the giant's face with a boom. The giant's creator watched, surprised by the attack on his creation. His fist slammed into the giant's face again with a loud bam. He hit the giant's face once more, the impact echoing with bam. He shouted, "I'll show you what level 10 really means." His punch sent the giant flying backward with a sharp POW. The giant's broken helmet fell to the ground, silent and still. The giant's cracked face glowed red, its helmet creaking as it moved. It crashed into the ground, cracking the earth with a loud boom. 3 armored figures stood over him, weapons ready, watching closely. One raised a spiked weapon, red eyes fixed on the fallen foe. He raised his hand, a skill glowing blue around his fingers. Purple energy erupted, smashing rocks as the ground shook hard. Smoke rose around him as he stood alone, calm and unharmed. He smiled, saying the battle made him feel even more powerful. A winged figure clapped slowly, calling the fight impressive. He turned, warning the figure to keep its promise without delay. The ground cracked again as a voice laughed, saying the test isn't done. His eye glowed blue as a quest alert rang out suddenly. The winged figure spread its arms, declaring it was his final test. A warning flashed. His heart stops if he fails in 10 minutes. He glared, demanding to know who the figure really was. The figure's mask cracked, asking if he wanted to know its name. It revealed itself as the architect of the system, smiling darkly. A message box appeared, asking if he was satisfied with the answer.